Hi everyone. This is listen and repeat listen. Listen for main ideas about corporate social responsibility. Okay? Listen and repeat with me.
Corporate social responsibility.
Corporate social responsibility.
Listen for main ideas. Page 88.
This morning, I'd like to talk to you about CSR, or Corporate Social Responsibility.
This morning I'd like to talk to you about CSR or corporate social responsibility.
That is, the belief that companies need to be responsible for the economic, social, and environmental impact of their actions.
That is, the belief that companies need to be responsible for the economic, social, and environmental impact of their actions.
Of course, companies want to make money.
Of course, companies want to make money.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with that.
However, increasingly, people are asking at what cost?
However, increasingly people are asking at what cost?
What is the cost to us,
What is the cost to us,
the planet, and the society we live in?
the planet, and the society we live in?
It is this balance between profit and social responsibility in the corporate world
It is this balance between profit and social responsibility in the corporate world
that I want to look at today.
that I want to look at today.
Believe it or not,
Believe it or not,
this issue affects everyone,
this issue affects everyone,
including you,
including you,
directly.
directly.
We are all happy to buy our clothes more cheaply,
We are all happy to buy our clothes more cheaply.
but do we stop to think where they were made
But do we stop to think where they were made
and who made them?
and who made them?
Do you know who made your jeans,
Do you know who made your jeans,
your shirt, or your running shoes?
your shirt, or your running shoes?
There are over 150 million children around the world in employment today.
There are over 150 million children around the world in employment today.
They are working often in dangerous and difficult conditions.
They are working often in dangerous and difficult conditions.
Some of these children might have produced the clothes you are wearing right now.
Some of these children might have produced the clothes you are wearing right now.
How does that make you feel?
How does that make you feel?
Worried?
Worried?
Well, you should be concerned.
Well, you should be concerned.
Because the fact is, there are companies that show little or no interest in social responsibility.
Because the fact is, there are companies that show little or no interest in social responsibility.
They employ children because they learn quickly
They employ children because they learn quickly
and they're cheap.
and they are cheap.
They don't care about their safety.
They don't care about their safety.
They don't provide health care.
They don't provide health care.
They save money by polluting our rivers and oceans.
They save money by polluting our rivers and oceans.
Yes, these companies may make their products in countries in the developing world,
Yes, these companies may make their products in countries in the developing world,
but they are owned and managed by companies in the United States,
but they are owned and managed by companies in the United States,
Europe, and elsewhere.
Europe, and elsewhere.
Countries that claim to have higher standards of social and environmental care.
Countries that claim to have higher standards of social and environmental care.
What's more, people living in developed countries seem quite happy to ignore these standards
What's more, people living in developed countries seem quite happy to ignore these standards
when they want to buy products cheaply.
when they want to buy products cheaply.
But things are changing.
But things are changing.
Corporate social responsibility is becoming a big issue these days.
Corporate social responsibility is becoming a big issue these days.
Consumers are starting to take a greater interest in the companies
Consumers are starting to take great interest in the companies
they buy products from.
they buy products from.
More and more consumers are demanding that companies pay their workers a fair wage.
More and more consumers are demanding that companies pay their workers a fair wage.
As for workers, they also expect companies to protect their safety
As for workers, they also expect companies to protect their safety
and perhaps provide health care and other benefits.
and perhaps provide health care and other benefits.
In addition, governments are starting to demand that companies reduce the pollution they cause.
In addition, governments are starting to demand that companies reduce the pollution they cause.
They are beginning to stop companies behaving in a way that harms the
They are beginning to stop companies behaving in a way that harms
health of local residents
the health of local residents
and the environment.
and the environment.
Thanks to pressure from all of these sources,
Thanks to pressure from all these sources,
consumers,
consumers,
workers, and
workers,
governments,
and governments,
things are changing for the better.
things are changing for the better.
This brings us to an important part of responsibility,
This brings us to an important part of responsibility.
the question of who is responsible.
The question of who is responsible.
Imagine a company is polluting the environment.
Imagine a company is polluting the environment.
Who is responsible?
Who is responsible?
Is it the company itself
Is it the company itself
or the individual manager that is to blame for allowing the pollution?
or the individual manager that is to blame for allowing the pollution?
It's not an easy question to answer.
It is not an easy question to answer.
Take another example.
Take another example.
A big brand name clothes company
A big brand name clothes company
uses a local manufacturer
uses a local manufacturer
in a developing country
in a developing country
to produce their running shoes.
to produce their running shoes.
The local company employs children in terrible conditions.
The local company employs children in terrible conditions.
They work for less than $1 a day,
They work for less than $1 today,
up to 16 hours a day,
up to 16 hours a day,
in dirty and dangerous conditions.
in dirty and dangerous conditions.
Who is responsible this time?
Who is responsible this time?
Is it the local manufacturer
Is it the local manufacturer
or the big brand name company that
or the big brand name company
buys from them?
that buys from them?
Or are we responsible
Or are we responsible
as consumers who are happy to buy the running shoes at
as consumers who are happy to buy the running
a
shoes
cheap price?
at a cheap price?
And exactly how can you force any company to be responsible?
And exactly how can you force any company to be responsible?
Huge fines will help,
Huge fines will help,
and the negative effect on public opinion of media reports
and the negative effect on public opinion of media reports.
but it's not easy.
But it's not easy.
Nevertheless,
Nevertheless,
some companies are socially responsible in the
some companies are socially responsible
way they run their business.
in the way they run their business.
We shouldn't forget that.
We shouldn't forget that.
As consumers demand higher standards,
As consumers demand high standards,
more companies are trying to improve the lives of their workers
more companies are trying to improve the lives of their workers
and the society they live in.
and the society they live in.
These companies show that profit and social responsibility can go together.
These companies show that profit and social responsibility can go together.
I'd like to consider a few important case studies now,
I'd like to consider a few important case studies now,
beginning with the example of the cooperative movement
beginning with the example of cooperative movement
that goes back to 19th century Britain.
that goes back to the 19th century Britain. Okay? You repeat like this after listening for the main ideas about corporate social responsibility. Thank you for your listening and repeating with me.